Hey guys, Preston here, and welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a quicker, I don't know how long we'll go, and I never know. If you've seen this channel, you know this by now, but we're going to be talking about Brian Kelly getting fired from LSU. If anyone who's unaware on this channel, I know the Arkansas shirt makes it kind of weird, but I'm a Notre Dame fan, born and raised, and so I have an interesting perspective on Brian Kelly. Obviously, there's a lot of bad blood there, and also I was one of the many fans from Notre Dame who was kind of glad he was gone and made some warnings to LSU and its fan base about kind of just what the Brian Kelly experience is like. I think it's pretty obvious that they began to realize what that experience is like, and that's why he is out of a job. So I guess to start, we'll kind of just talk about Kelly and what kind of happened, I guess you would say. One sec, guys. So, to summarize Brian Kelly's years before this is his fourth season at LSU. He started off kind of impressively, you could say, in 2022, going 10-4 and finishing with a win in the Citrus Bowl. But that was coming off a 6-7 season for LSU, which is why Ed Orgeron got fired. Ed fell off big time after that national championship win and run for them. But anyways, so 10-4, 6-2 in conference. Then they followed up pretty much identical in 2023 with 10-3, 6-2 in conference. So pretty good years, you could say, but not, obviously LSU has high expectations for their program. That's how they threw a ton of money at Brian Kelly to pull him away from Notre Dame, which is why, the power of that program is real. People still view it as one of the top jobs in the country. And so the 6-2 in conference, the conference losses and the opening week losses from both those years were the fans already began to have gripes with Kelly in the program. Expectations are high, like I said. So not very happy with that. But as a Notre Dame fan, I could tell you 10 wins is a pretty normal Brian Kelly season. That he was doing that a lot at Notre Dame, which to his credit, that was raising the bar from the 2000s of Notre Dame, where a lot of stuff went wrong and it was just not overall fun. He did return us to a consistent level, and that level was 10 wins. But when you're LSU, and even Notre Dame now, you could say LSU was not happy with just 10 wins. Especially when you're factoring the bowl game and potential conference championships, and now with a 12-team playoff, he did not make it in any of his 4 years, which is... if we're being honest, that's the real reason he's gone, is he did not make the playoff. This year's not over technically, but they're not. I don't think they can. Like with 3 losses, I really doubt it. You never know with the SEC, I guess, but I doubt it. So, anyways, yeah. And then he went 9-4 last year, so slightly down, and that's again 5-3 in conference, so even worse in conference. Had another conference loss, 4th in the SEC. It is far from what fans were hoping for and looking for. And this year, you get the monkey off your back with that week 1 win, which is something that had not happened. So everyone's like, oh, maybe this year's different. People are really high in Garrett Nussmeier coming into the year. They win the opening game. Everyone's like, okay. And they beat Louisiana Tech 23-7. Maybe you just kind of lollygag to that. You beat Florida 20-10. Hey, not bad. Granted, Florida continues to look worse and worse. Their coach is gone too. There's a reason for that. Beat the crap out of Southeastern Louisiana. Can't get much from that. And then this is the run that kind of started off why he's gone. You lose the they are LSU. You lose the Ole Miss 24-19. Pretty close, but still, those are games you want to win. And the fan base wants to win, and a coach making as much as Brian Kelly is expected to win. You bounce back, beating South Carolina by 10. And especially when South Carolina has been struggling itself, especially during that time. They still are, but they played Bama tough, I guess. So you can give them that. Then you face your old defensive coordinator. That's a fun fact. These 2 games that got him fired were against defensive coordinators that Brian Kelly had at Notre Dame. So he loses to Clark Lee and Vanderbilt 31-24. Another close, but guess what? You lost. It doesn't change. Close when it counts, and horseshoes and hand grenades is a saying that is used, and that's for a reason. And then they turn around the next week, and this is, I guess it's just began to unravel after having 2 losses, because this was no longer a close 1-score loss. You lose 49-25 to A&M. Now listen, these are all good teams. They're all top 10 ranked teams, but the problem is you get paid that money and you're at LSU, you're expected to be one of those top 10 ranked teams. So much like James Franklin, this was a firing for not getting to that next level. But unlike Franklin made the playoff last year. He made the semifinals last year. I mean, his path, we won't get into it, but he was still good enough to put his team into the playoff. Kelly hasn't done that once, and this has been in the era of 12-team playoffs. So this year and last year at least anyways, but he couldn't get it done. It's an indictment on him and his style. There's the issues with Kelly lingered. So Kelly, just like Franklin, has had big game issues his whole career. Notre Dame is the same thing. He got us to the playoffs several times, even the 4 team, which I give him credit for, but every time we knew it was going to take a mountain for us to win. Granted, to be fair to him, I defended him these times too, because in that 14 playoff era, man, and before the NIL and portal stuff really blew up, Kelly and Notre Dame ran into some absolute juggernauts of teams, and there was blowouts, usually multiple ones, in those 14 playoffs every year. People seem to forget that for some reason, but you're running into the Bama Natty team with Najee and all those boys. You run into Clemson at the peak of their power once. There was tough games. You can't blame him fully, but the reality was he still lost those big games. And so he comes to LSU. I think it should have scared you guys anyways that he came to LSU citing that, he couldn't win at Notre Dame. That should have scared you as an LSU fan, that he's blaming a blue blood program for why he couldn't win. Which, listen, you can say what you want, but Marcus Freeman took this team to a national championship just last year, which proves, in my opinion, he won multiple bowl games, which was, Kelly could not win the big bowl games either, the New Year's Six games. So it wasn't just the playoff ones I mentioned. We'd blow all those games. So, but I think Freeman proved you can do better at Notre Dame than what Brian Kelly was claiming. And that's, Kelly left claiming he couldn't go far. And then what do you know? Freeman has gone further than Kelly ever did at LSU, because Kelly couldn't even make the playoff at LSU. And so the problems we knew lingered. The lack of effort with recruiting and knowing players, the attitude issues. He's just not a likable guy, which I know that doesn't always matter in coaching. But if you're going to pair not being likable with also underperforming the expectations the fan base and the team has for you, you're gonna wear thin even faster than you would if you were a super nice guy who had great connections with the boosters and recruiters and high school teams in the area. He barely tried at Notre Dame. A lot of stories came out about Notre Dame, how he talked about our recruiting level and stuff, but he never put anywhere near the effort in the recruiting that a guy like Marcus Freeman has. And you can see with the recruiting classes Freeman has pulled in this year, last year, and the upcoming 2027 as well. These are just classes that Kelly did not put the effort into to get to. Obviously, LSU has recruited well, but the truth is most of that is not because of Brian Kelly. It's because, LSU is LSU, and they also have people in other places that help with that. So it'll be interesting. I guess we can pivot now. I just wanted to say, yeah, I'm not surprised by this. This is Kelly being Brian Kelly. I never thought he's not a guy who elevates. I mean, he did, okay. He can elevate programs who are starting lower, and technically LSU was, but he's never taken a team over the top like that. And so LSU was not a job he was going to do that for, and it turned out to be true. And so I'm not surprised. I never wanted to hate on LSU. But my problem was always with Brian Kelly, obviously, as a Notre Dame fan, not a LSU fan. It's because he took cheap shots for no reason when he left that proved to just not be true, at least in his case, because he could not get it done at LSU with his extra resources. So, sorry LSU fans, you had to go through it, but I'm not sad for Brian Kelly, especially with his buyout. He'll be just fine. He was already fine before the buyout, but he's just fine. Who knows where he'll go as for Brian Kelly? I'm not sure. I think the fun ones to think about would be returning to the Midwest. I don't think he's going to get some crazy. I don't even think he'd get Penn State. I mean, maybe if Penn State strikes out on some other people. Brian Kelly's not a horrible coach by any means. It wouldn't be a horrible spot for Penn State, but I'd feel like either he just doesn't coach this year or he comes back to the Midwest at a Wisconsin or Michigan State, who haven't fired their coaches yet, but honestly they should, both of them. Michigan State and Wisconsin should both be looking for new coaches, and I think Brian Kelly, in his Midwest success at Grand Valley starting off, Central Michigan, Cincinnati, and then even Notre Dame. So that's where, if I was him, I would go back to the Midwest, maybe drop down. You don't have to go group of 5, but just pick another D1 program you can kind of like rebuild. Because truthfully, that's what he was pretty good at. He would take a team who was struggling and get them consistently good. Not great, but consistently good. And a team like Michigan State or Wisconsin could really use that right now. So that's something I'd keep an eye out for. As for LSU, I mean, everyone talks about how great this LSU job is and all that, but I think they should be smart here. I don't think they should throw the money around they did with Brian Kelly. I mean, to be fair, you put the calls out to the names we keep hearing everywhere. You call Lane Kiffin, maybe Eli Drinkwitz at Mizzou, hell, even Clark Lee and Elko. Elko, A&M's got real money too, so he might be a little harder, but Lee's probably doable if you can pull him away from his alma mater. You never know. But any of those guys, I think, would be big hires. LSU would be flexing their guns again. They're all good coaches. If you want to go the smaller route or maybe the quieter route, that could still be good hires, but wouldn't be the splash you're talking about. Matt Campbell at Iowa State has been consistent for years now. He would do a good job. This one's crazy, and no one said it, but maybe I don't think this happens because of age. But Willie Fritz is like got Louisiana in his blood. Did a lot of good work at Tulane. Has Houston 7-1 right now in his second season, which is a very impressive turnaround considering the state of that program, even his first year there. But age and lack of big-time experience will probably keep them away from that one. That's just a fun name to mention. But John Summerall is really the one where I know it's scary hiring group of 5 coaches, especially because it doesn't always work. We just saw Florida's Billy Napier experiment not work, but I think John Summerall is a very good coach, and I think he could do the job well. Not all group of 5 coaches turn out bad. Look at Kurt Cignetti at Indiana. They'll probably call Freeman, but I don't think he'll leave. I can't imagine the backlash from that, and I also think he's making good money at Notre Dame. We don't know the reports, but I'm sure he's getting paid well, and I think he truly believes he can win with the team he just took to the Natty last year, so I'm not sure he would leave that program to do the same exact thing Brian Kelly did. But you got to say that name. I'm sure they'll cast a very wide net, but those are just some names I guess I would be thinking about, especially if you're not pulling a big person away. Summerall's probably the top small school choice, the group of 5 school choices. Anyways, what is your thoughts on the Brian Kelly firing? Who do you think LSU should go after? Where do you think Brian Kelly ends up? If you're a fan of a team with an open spot, would you want Brian Kelly? If you're Arkansas, would you want Brian Kelly? It depends on the level, too. I don't know if you'd want to go to like an Oklahoma State or something, but maybe you would take him in that case. And then if you're an LSU fan, who do you want for your next coach? What matters most to you? Does it matter that they've coached in the South before? Does it need to be even more specific and coached in Louisiana before or currently, like Summerall is? Experience over potential. Would you would you take a Will Stein, the OC from Oregon? Would you be okay with that? Oh, Kenny Dillingham's another one. That's a really good. You're pulling away from an alma mater again, but Dillingham has done very good work at ASU, and I think he could do a very good job at LSU, and it'd probably be easier to pull a Dillingham away than a Freeman or even a Kiffin. Though Kiffin jumps a lot. That's why he's in the rumors for Florida and LSU. But who knows? He has a good thing going in Ole Miss. Maybe he'll stay. It's going to be interesting to see how this carousel plays out. There's a lot of open jobs. Probably more to come if I'm right about Wisconsin and Michigan State. And there's probably a few others who haven't pulled the trigger yet for one reason or another. But anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts below. Who LSU should hire, where Kelly might end up. Any other coaching things you want me to talk about, we can talk about it in the comments, or I can make another video. This is my first foray into kind of non-Notre Dame college content for the most part. I've made a few videos here and there. But thank you guys so much for watching. This is Preston signing out. See you guys later.